We're going to do that was at 3:30 in the morning. So thank you, and thank you for sunshine.
Rain shines.
Yeah, it doesn't stop us.
Oh, really? Okay, I thought maybe for rain you guys don't come. So this is the second year that the road pitch is here. We're very, very excited. Last year, the folks who were pitching won our business planning competition that Strolling and the Heifers does with BDCC. And it was very successful. And this year, we took a year off and we didn't have the business planning competition. And these wonderful folks decided to participate. And we had a very short time to prepare as coaches the wonderful group that you're going to see today. And I have to say, I am so impressed with how open this group was for suggestions and how they took it seriously, went home, and really refined their pitches, and I think you're going to be delighted. So Branch Corp, Frank Maltese, is going to be first. ITV Fest, Philip Gilpin is going to be second. Resilience for Birds, Kermit Blackwood is going to be third. Christina Moore, Storm Petrol, fourth, and Michelle Simpson-Siegel, Oak Meadow School, and Tamara Stent with Kusiki. So those are the pitches that we have today, and I think I'd like to give all these folks a wonderful hand for all the hard work that they have done. Also, I'd like to give a hand to all the wonderful folks who are here today. I'm taking a whole week off to go around Vermont, give their feedback, and help grow the economy of Vermont. Thank you so much for all the donations. So Strolling and the Heifers works very closely with BDCC, and R.T. Brown, who worked with me on this, I'd like to introduce you to him, and he'd like to say a few words.
I'm just going to say hello, and thanks for coming, and thanks to our participants today. I can't wait to hear your presentations. But that's it for me. I'll be here today serving as the click jockey and the technologist behind this. So if you have any questions, let me know afterwards.
And I'd like to hand it over to Karin Cross. And by the way, those that don't know, Karin is helping us with a wonderful new project that we're launching in September called Wyndham Grows, where we're going to scale up small businesses right down here. And if you're interested, we just finished a huge renovation downstairs. Go downstairs and see. Karin's going to be one of the entrepreneur in residence, and Jim Brazino is going to be the director and entrepreneur in residence. And there he is. Okay, so here's Karin.
Hey, here we go again, riders.
We're here.
We're all here. We're all here.
Yeah, and we've got a few people that have joined us, which is great. So what I usually do here at the beginning is just make sure that everybody understands a little bit about what this is and how it fits into other things we're doing around the state. So Road Pitch is a 5-day event. We stop in 10 towns, Brattleboro being one. We listen to pitches in each town. We select a Rider's Choice winner in each town. That Rider's Choice winner gets $500. They get a Vermont teddy bear, which is sitting there peeking out of the box. Her name is Abby Road Pitch Bear, she is from one of our sponsors, the Vermont Teddy Bear Company. We also have, although we haven't unpacked them yet, we have a box full of brownies from the Vermont Brownie Company with a Share the Road motorcycle safety message on them, and also a picture of Abby Road Pitch Bear. The reason I'm telling you all this is that we couldn't provide the prize packages for each of the towns if we didn't have some statewide sponsors. And chief among them is the Vermont Department of Economic Development. I think is Ed Williams here today? Ed's from DED. And then another statewide sponsor is Burlington Bites. Andrew Stickney is the CEO of Burlington Bites. Andrew's there. Web design, advertising, and so forth up in the Burlington area, obviously. That's why they're called Burlington Bites. Champlain College and the Champlain College Bring Your Own Biz program is sponsoring a final pitch-off, so the winners from each town this week get invited to go to Burlington in October, on October 18th, and attend a statewide pitch-off. The winner of that pitch-off will receive $4,000 in the mentorship for the year from the rider group as needed. And Champlain is the host of that and a statewide sponsor. Tom Myers is here. Bob Block is also here from Champlain College that have ridden in with us. The Key Bank is a statewide sponsor, and I know they're also running around making more copies of the tally sheets. The Key Bank does a whole lot of things at the local and at the state level. Gallagher Flynn and Company, Steve Trenholm is here missing part of his brake handle. We won't talk about how that happened, but he's with us. And the Vermont Small Business Development Center is a statewide sponsor, and we have someone from the SBDC here. We have Dinsey, a law firm. Lee Cole is here. Design Book and its sister company do some fundraising. So if companies are trying to raise money directly from the public, Design Book has a broker-dealer operation and an online platform, and they help companies in Vermont and outside of Vermont raise money from people all across the country. Merritt & Merritt, which is an early stage law firm in Burlington, has provided some water bottles so that they're over there on the table. All the presenters today, you can take home a water bottle. If you're not the rider's choice, you still get a water bottle. And then Melt's Money is a statewide sponsor. They are also an online platform that helps people raise money. The twist for Melt Money is that they have, their online platform is aimed at Vermonters, so only Vermonters can participate and invest in companies, and only open to Vermont companies, and it uses the Vermont Small Business Operating Exemption, which is a fairly new regulation here in the last couple of years. The Vermont Business Magazine is a statewide sponsor. Launch VT, a business pitch competition in Burlington in the spring. It's a statewide competition. Actually, last year's winner here won the Innovation Award at Launch VT. There's more than $100,000 of prizes that get awarded in that pitch competition. So if you like what you're doing here, folks that are pitching today, think about entering some other competitions. The Moulton Law Group is also a sponsor, and they're our corporate attorney for Road Pitch. And the Champlain Mini Makers Fair is a sponsor. They run a great Makers Fair at Shelburne Farms in September. Wonderful thing to take kids, wonderful thing to connect with the other makers around Vermont. So the way this works is that Orly would take, and you guys would queue up, and each of the presenters have 7 minutes. Is that what you got? 7 minutes, and then there's about 8 minutes for question and answers. I'll help facilitate the question and answer, so I'll stand back up again and call on riders. Do we have a second microphone, or is this no microphone? Okay, so when it's time for that, we'll do that. So I think we're all set to roll. The riders know what to do and how to fill out the forms.
And I'd like to call Key Bank. Maybe you would like to say something?
Sure.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Orly. I'm the branch manager here at Key Bank on Main Street, and I just wanted to thank Karen and Orly for the opportunity. Key Bank is definitely all about helping the small communities here in Vermont, and I think a program like this is a great way for small business owners and entrepreneurs to really get some great expertise and advice from all of you riders. So we really appreciate that, and thank you.
So the first person is Branch Corp. Frank Maltese.
Good afternoon. I'm Frank Maltese. My company is Branch Corporation. I manufacture tools for the fire and rescue service first responders. Yes. I have 37 years as a firefighter. I'm a retired captain. I'm a state certified trainer, and I'm clerk, Transportation Emergency Rescue Committee member. This is what I'll be pitching today, is the groundhog. These are aluminum step shocks used for stabilization. Branch Corporation made the first step shock introduced to the Fire and Rescue Service. I also make cribbing kits, blankets, and extrication guards, which are used by the Fire and Rescue Service. These are the guards. I make a pack, which is quickly carried to the scene. It's filled with cribbing. It's filled with wedges, plates, anything the rescuers need on the scene as quickly as possible. Through the golden hour, you save lives, we save seconds. I also make a extrication guard and step chocks. This is an actual scene of an accident on Route 9. You'll see that my step chock is there, my guard is there, my crib packs are there, and they're using an airbag. There must be someone under the car, and they don't seem to be in such a rush. So that's what they do. And now, as cars improve, as the safeties improve on cars, crash zones, active seat belts, airbags. The Volvo has 12 airbags in it. They have a crash section. No one's going to get out of a car after a 100-mile-an-hour accident unless you're cut out. And they're going to use tools. And the Transportation Rescue Committee has a yearly event where all new tools are certified, used, and approved. Here's what's coming down the road, Teslas. Corvette, the new Corvette, 225 miles an hour out of the box, electric. When that crashes, someone's going to have to be cut out of it. Orange marks high voltage. That's the universal sign for high voltage. Stay away from it. It's carrying 200 to 300, 400 amps, 6 to 800 volts. It's supposed to disconnect when the airbag's deployed. But life isn't perfect. And you can get a fence post into the pack, into the battery pack. If a rescuer walks up to it, it's going to be a dangerous situation. There's another one. I think this is a Toyota. Now comes the aluminum step shocks, alloy. It's going to ground, since the tires, the tires are rubber. And if that car is energized, there's no way for that ground, the electricity energy to go except into the ground. If that rescuer comes up and touches the car, the ground, he's going to ground it. He's going to become a light bulb. These step shocks stack and they're locked together. So as cars get higher and heavier, the Tesla weighs close to 4 tons, goes from 0 to 100 in 3.7 seconds. 500,000 foot-pounds of energy produced in less than 4 seconds. These are the all-new step shocks, and now I can move right along. So I'm going to put the mic down, and I'm going to have to talk loud. These are the step shocks. This one is equipped with a 400 lumina light. When this is slid under the car, you're supposed to be looking for patients under there, knives, guns, drugs. That night, the battery's dead on this one, but it lights up the whole scene. The only complaint I've had is it's too bright. This one has a green light that says all clear. If I get near a car with electricity, I got to back off. If you have to, you can put a pipe pole in there and slide it in. I'm doing good. I'm going to shut my clock off here. I'm doing good. This is an electric car. And this is basically what's inside. You've got a battery pack, you've got a controller, and you've got a motor. If it's disconnected, I can see nothing. No energy. If it's on, anywhere I move, it'll tell me now if there's energy there. Now's the time I back off and get my step shock. Not only does it pick it up here, but it picks up DC all the way back to the battery. So if there's any disconnections there, and there's a leak, it'll pick up even the battery leak. So if there's a rod going through that grounding, it'll pick it up. Also, in the 20 minutes you save lives, we save seconds. It's got a gravity lock on it. Now they go together. These are diamond shaped, extremely sharp to cut through plastic, keep it from slipping. You want to move it up. It moves up, locks in, get moving. As soon as you tip it up though, lock goes back in, you can use it as a regular step track. They're also designed to be put this way. Jammed in, these are very sharp. These were cut by Renault Brothers. They could have been cast in, but they're dull. These are extremely sharp, they cut through plastic. They'll bite into steel, and allow it to kick out. I'm done. Any questions?
Steve, I thought you'd have a question.
Frank, great presentation, and as a firefighter, I can appreciate all of this equipment. Wanted to ask you, where are you at, and who do you have for customers so far, and customer market?
You know, I'm not done. I forgot. Okay, that's what I want. The plan is to integrate the electrical field into these. It's not done yet. I have to do it. Production of 50 step chops, testing. They have to be destructive testing, and I will be the first step chop to say that this will hold X amount of weight. Then marketing, sales, and I need a proposal writer, support from the automobile manufacturers, Tesla. You can go to tesla.com for responders. We got page after page of how to approach their cars. And I need technical support. You know, there are CNC programmers, any mechanical engineers here, electrical engineers. Okay.
My father used to be a record driver
Hey,
back
guys,
in the day.
did only the riders get to ask questions? Sorry.
Huh?
Did only the riders get to ask questions?
Oh.
Sorry about that. Alan?
Talk to you later.
So I'm also fascinated. I don't understand. What's the, you're selling to fire departments?
Yes.
And what's the lead time? I know selling to a lot of governmental organizations has incredibly long lead time and extremely poor payable terms.
I accept credit cards. I accept credit cards, purchase orders with a serious purchase order, not just, we call them unbacked orders. I get a call from the fireman and says, I love your stuff, I saw it at a show. Well, I need a purchase order, I need your chief. I only sell to fire departments and first responders.
But again, I apologize.
Okay.
What is the lead time? I mean,
Usually 30 days to 60 days.
So each fire department can make their own decision, has their own budget. I'm ignorant, so I'm just asking.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Well, a credit card is the best way though. Go ahead.
Alan, I can help you with that. What we do at Essex Junction is we actually have an association, and if something like this comes along, we'll give the money to buy the equipment and then donate the equipment. So it could be, you know, we could order it, 30 days later it comes in, and we also have a budget. There's always a budget for small equipment in each department.
Well, these are not small.
Repairs.
These are going to be selling for quite a bit of money.
Well, when I say small equipment,
Not a truck.
our budget is probably $30,000-$40,000 for small pieces of equipment. and
See,
whatnot.
I have a problem there. If you're not connected and you're not a fire department, I would sell to you.
Right, but again, the association would provide the money to the chief, and then the chief would buy it.
So
So
Long Island has an association and they buy for all departments, so I get a chance to go through that. I work, I've never had a problem. Go ahead.
Actually, Dave first and then Doug.
I'm good, I don't normally need a mic. So you're looking at 50, a run of 50 chucks. Can you give me an idea of what you sell them for and what they cost for you to make them?
Right now, these are, you're looking at about $4,000 or $5,000 right here. These are prototypes. You know, these are hand cut. The machinist went down and cut every one of these. I have a company that will do that. And take care of that.
So they retail for about $5,000. What do you?
No, these are V's. They'll sell for about 1,400.
Okay. What do you expect it's going to cost you to make them?
Don't know until we get a production run. Production, the only way to do it is production run. I don't even know what it will be to put the electronics in it. Although the electronics is viable, it's made in South Korea. I've taken these apart and looked in there, it's not magic. The only thing is it's got to be engineered and designed so it sits out in the front here. I have a Velcro thing that I have Velcro, I can tap it on there.
Yeah, I got Doug next.
So, the Teslas and electric powered cars have been out for a while now. Have there been incidents of firefighters being injured because of this? Is there beginning to become a caseload?
No.
Not yet.
Not yet, but it's anticipated. Well, wait a minute, there has been. I'm sorry. Last week, I think, in the news, there was someone who was electrocuted in a car. Not from a battery, but from a line power.
Ben next.
Interesting product. I might have missed it, but I don't have any concept of how many fire departments there are.
Okay.
What do you see as
real
the
quick,
total?
real quick. 34 million people are injured in the world every year. 1 million are killed. 30 to 40,000 people are killed in the United States. 1 million are injured. These are life-changing injuries. Every town in the world has a fire rescue company. That's my market. I'm so proud when I see Pakistan going under a building and they have helmets and jumpsuits and they're using jaws and jacks. This 15 years ago, sledgehammers and shovels and bare hands. So the movement to save lives is worldwide, and every town has a fire department. Thank God.
So if you so in the first 3 years, how many do you think you'll sell?
And I've been selling these products. I have extrication guards and so on. I can sell as many as I want to. I don't advertise.
So you have sold some.
Not these, no. But I have sold my other products for 20 years. I have companies like West Palm Beach has a standing order. I say, what do you do with them? They say, we cut a car every day. Every day we cut a car. They handle 4 different cities. He said, we have driverless cars down here constantly. Mercedes-Benz, we love to cut them up.
So, why not use a jack? It seems it would be the versatility.
Okay. There's a golden hour. First 20 minutes is for response. When the phone, you hit the tree, they call in. The second 20 minutes is extrication. The third 20 minutes is getting you to the trauma center. During that 20 minutes, my motto is you save lives, we save seconds. If you got to use a jack, it ain't going to work. Hold on a second. Oh, here. You slide them under, you put a wedge under it, and you let the air out of the tires. You slide them under, put a wedge under it, let the air out of the tires. How long does that take you? Now go back to the truck and get a jack. Try to figure it out.
Well, you take the jack with you and bam, it doesn't
How
matter.
do you know you need it?
How do you know you need the chucks?
They get there. They carry them.
Carry
That's
the jack.
it. That's it. Well, okay, here. Where do you put a jack? Where do you put a jack on that car?
Same place you put the chucks.
Is it going to be stable?
Not going to be stable, but I think it might.
Well, it's not going to be stable. Somebody could get killed. And that's my job. I stabilize. I'm a stabilizer. You've got to stop the progression. Jacks are one thing. You don't want a car sliding around on you.
So, I'm interested to know,
Chuck and then Bob.
I'm interested to know what you've done in terms of, what you thought about in terms of intellectual property and patenting.
Okay.
Patenting, what you thought about.
The drop pin is patent pending. Anything else, you patent a block. And secondly, I'm making products to save lives. If you want to make it, and you make it cheaper, you can have all my designs. Really, I'm not kidding.
Well, you can give your patent.
Yeah, what's the patent cost these days?
You can get by for less than 12 grand.
Oh, okay. I can make a lot of product and get it out there for 12 grand. I've never had a problem. I always have a problem.
So, is there any other manufacturer anywhere that's a couple of questions. So, is there anyone else who does what you're doing or offers a solution that with a similar kind of performance compared to these jacks and other things? That's one question. The other question is, you said you can sell as many as you want, which is great. I wish I had a business like that. How many do you want to sell, and how will you actually go about selling them? How do fire departments find out that this thing even exists? Do you go to like the trade shows and stuff, or what do you do?
Yeah. That's the Nassau Coliseum. You don't see it, there's 10,000 people in those audience.
Couldn't understand.
That's the Nassau Coliseum, and there's 10,000 people in attendance at that show. That's a trade show. And that's my product being tested and used. I don't go to trade shows anymore, I don't advertise. I get word of mouth, orders. And also, trade magazines write up, if I send a sample to them, they review it and write an article. And then from then on, my phone rings.
So
How
many did you sell last year
on the,
of the chops?
they're not on production yet.
Okay.
Uh,
So when you demonstrated it at the trade show, how many people said, we want to have one of these as soon as you can make as many as you want?
They're not used for, I haven't actually showed them to the public yet. They're used in training. They're used in training. No, these step chocks here are plastic. They're not metal plastic. They're plastic, and they're made by another company. But the only trouble with plastic is when it gets hot, it melts. It's called weeping. And when it gets cold, it peach pits. It fires out. And it's not conductive.
Gary, I think you wanted to ask a question.
How much are you looking to raise?
I give them about 50,000 for the first run. And I hope to get that from the car manufacturers.
Mike, next to you, Scott.
Yeah, I would say just a quick comment. You can dope plastic to make it conductive. I would presume it'd be enough to eliminate the charge, but that might be a risk if this plastic step chuck is already out there, and that might be your competition.
Can the plastic step chuck take a fire or heat?
It might be less expensive.
No, not expensive. The military went to plastic pallets, and they loaded bombs on them in Texas. When it got to about 100 degrees on the tarmac, you know what happened? The bomb skidded down the runway. It weeps. It's made out of oil, and it is stabilized, I know, but it can always be reverted back to a liquefied heat.
Scott,
I just have one question. I'm a little, I haven't heard that. Is the purpose of this for, I'm something I'm going to show them. So is the purpose of this for electric cars, or are you trying to just sell chocks, period? I'm not quite sure I understand.
This chock can be used for any car, any truck. It will work. There's a light on here. This has nothing to do with electric cars. It's a stabilizer. It'll stabilize any car, from a Class 8 rig down to a motorcycle.
So as a follow-up, how many people are making chocks for that type?
The only one I know is the plastic. No one makes a wood except me, and no one is working on alloy except me. It's all new. I mean, it's uncharted territory.
Right, actually, Heidi, I'll let you ask one last question, and then we're out of time.
I'm very puzzled about what, is this on?
No, I shut it off, sorry.
I'm very puzzled about what your mission is. It sounds like you want to do this because your goal is to save lives. It sounds like you don't care how many you make. This is what I'm hearing, and that you don't have specific goals for production, or you can sell as many as you want. I'm confused.
Trying to make money?
Yeah, of course, that's going to get into it, but I'm not out. I have another company, Branch Construction Company, and this is only one leg of my corporation. I have multiples, but this is only one. I got into it at need. I don't want to go into that, but I'm a firefighter. I got to a scene. The tool wasn't available. I made it. Next thing you know, I'm making step shots, guards, all kinds of stuff. Every journey starts with the first step. If I get 50, I can get them certified. I can put these in a press and crush them and say this stuff will hold 50 tons. No one else can say that in the market except me then. Now I can advertise and say, I have a certified step shot that will hold 50 tons. No one else can do that. So I need first step. After that, I want to sell the business, to be truthful. I'm retiring. And if someone wants to take it over, good. I mean, that's what this needs. It needs a young person that will pick up and go. And I was not supposed to say that, but that's the way I feel. I would like to have someone say, but I would never do it at this point. I'd have to have it certified, a market, recognized. I have my channels, believe me. These are going off to Texas next week to be checked by someone. And if he says it's good, it's good.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, so the next pitch is ITV Fest, Philip Gilpin.
Hi everybody, my name is Philip Gilpin Jr. and I am the Executive Director of ITV Fest. ITV Fest is the Independent Television Festival.
Thank you. ITV Fest is the Independent Television Festival. It's been around for 11 years.
It started in Los Angeles in 2006. At the time that it started, Facebook and YouTube had not launched video capabilities yet. So this is pre-YouTube days. Over the last decade, we have consolidated the entire independent television community into one festival. And what's happened is, over the last 10 years, as the camera technology and equipment has gotten cheaper, artists who didn't have the ability to produce studio-level television pilots can now do that. And in fact, the last 3 years, we've had over 212 shows that we've screened at the festival from over 20 countries. The ability of people to make independent television pilots these days, an independent episodic series, is really becoming quite impressive. The photos you'll see here are from the events the last few years. So, independent television are pilots and series that are independently financed and produced. Some of them are college-age students who are making their first project. Some of them are Emmy winners who are on break from Game of Thrones and others, and they're making their own independent series. In the first year, they had about 50 shows submitted to them in 2006 when it was in LA. This year, we just broke the record at about 500 from over 23 countries. We are one of 3 festivals in the entire United States that focus in some way on independent television, and we are the only one in the world who does specifically just independent television, not network and studio productions. So the problem is, there are a lot of independent television shows out there now, and they're completely scattered all over the web. The last 3 years, we've screened 212 shows at the festival. About 30 of those decided to go the route of putting themselves publicly available on YouTube. Those 30 shows alone have garnered over 40 million views. I have access to 200 more shows that haven't even been put out into the public yet, and there are millions and millions of viewers waiting there. The problem for the viewer is that when you get done watching a show, maybe you found it because your brother made it, or it came through a school, or however you found that first show, the YouTube algorithm doesn't know how to tell you that was a really great independent television show, here's the next one. The system of what Netflix and Amazon are doing for film has not been created for independent television yet. So that's the solution. This is the independent television network. It will show up on your Apple TV box or on your Roku box or any of your web-connected devices. You'll be able to have access to all of our professionally and publicly curated shows. Our professional curators include agents and managers and people at the networks. The public part comes in with the festival. Every year we have 1,000 people that attend the festival. We moved it here to Dover 4 years ago. And they have an Audience Choice Award. So not only are these shows being selected out of the world of independent television by professionals, but by the general public as well. One of the interesting things we want to do that has not been done yet is the Fund This Show line. We've all heard of Indiegogo and Kickstarter. They've never been integrated in a crowdsourcing way into the actual show itself. So imagine you get done watching a new television pilot that you never knew of before, you really liked it, and you want to donate some money to have them continue, if they need it. Not all shows need this, this is an optional thing. Some shows go in with $2 million in the bank to produce an entire series and an entire episode. Others don't, and they need to fundraise as they go. The marketplace for independent television platforms, there are none. Netflix and Hulu are showing studio films and network television. They are not showing episodic independent TV. YouTube and Facebook is where most of the creators that are choosing to go the route of building a view count are going, but it is not curated. You get done watching an amazing 30-minute pilot episode of some sci-fi series or some great comedy or drama that's made you laugh and cry, the next thing YouTube wants to give you is a cat video. It is not connecting the fact that there is a genre out there that is unrepresented on a platform. Sundance and IFC are our natural kind of, not competitors, but I guess equivalents in the industry, but they are films. They're not television. This is where we live in the industry. We are the connection between the digital web space and the major TV studios. We also have the ability to, the major TV networks. We also have the ability to connect to some of the film studios. We do show a couple short films and docs every now and then that we get if they're really spectacular. Last year, IndieWire, which is the main independent television magazine, came to the festival from LA, left, and a month later they published an article calling us the Sundance of independent television. The 11th year of Sundance is when it exponentially exploded from a small festival to a massive international worldwide event, because that was when a lot of the networks and studios started showing up and participating. This is our 11th year, and these are our partners. We are sponsored in cash by HBO. We have had a 4-year relationship with the National Academy of Television Arts and Sciences, the Emmys, from the Boston chapter. Starz was our cash sponsor last year. CBS Interactive, Hallmark, and WB have all sending representatives. In fact, Hallmark is really interesting. They are spending $100 million on new television shows just this next year alone. And they are short on content. A lot of these networks are thirsty for new content and new shows. Where would they come to find it? A good story about Warner Brothers. A couple of guys who live in Burbank have a comedy pilot, and they wanted to come out, they wanted to get their meeting at Warner Brothers. They couldn't. They came to the festival last year, started playing pool. Guy plays pool with them. He's the head of script development at Warner Brothers. Monday morning, they're back in the network in LA giving their pitches. They had to come to Dover, Vermont to make that LA connection. So our business model, I'm looking for a $2.5 million investment so that we can spend $1 million acquiring the content that we already have access to. A lot of these shows, they bid these pilots on $15,000 to $20,000 each. It's incredible what amazingly talented people can do when you get great technology in your hands. We need $750,000 to market it. We need $500,000 to build the actual platform itself. There are out-of-the-box solutions that we can tinker with there. We don't have to start from scratch. Some legal and office fees. In terms of revenue, there will be a subscription model for those that don't want to watch the ads. There will be an advertising revenue stream as well. The IP sales will be HBO sees a show that's doing really well on our platform, says, hey, you know what, we want to pick it up and develop it. We would get a piece of that. Those are all great, but those are all really small compared to the ultimate end goal. Brand sale. The Sundance Television Network or the Sundance Channel, was sold 13 years after it started for $500 million. Because they were the first place to curate and aggregate all the independent films that were the best in the world. We're the first that are going to do that for television. I have been talking with Amazon Studios. I have been talking with a couple of other networks. They are hiring executives to try to do what we already do, and they're not really getting anywhere. I believe that within 2 years of having this platform launched and getting these tens of millions of viewers together, we will get picked up and bought out by one of the majors. The Vermont effect, the reason we moved this to Vermont is that Hollywood is a relationship-based business, and we're a relationship-based festival. People come to Vermont, they get to meet each other and hang out. A little bit about me, I graduated from BC with a degree in physics and math. I was the business affairs analyst at HBO. My boss did the contracts for Sex and the City and Sopranos and 6 Feet Under. I crunched the numbers. And then 5 years ago, I moved here, started a local company called Vermont Time with $5,000, and we just cracked our $1 million gross revenue money. So it's been a really good step so far. Lastly, I'd like to invite you all to come join us at the festival. Come see the community, come see the shows. It's Columbus Day weekend. You won't believe the level of panelists and the level within the industry of people that are showing up. The heads of marketing from NBC, guys that run Bones. Anybody here is a fan of Bones? I was on the set 2 weeks ago. So they're all, the big sharks are starting to circle our world. Yeah, we need to step up. Thank you.
John, when you first introduced yourself, you introduced yourself as the executive director. Does that mean that ITV Fest is set up as a nonprofit entity?
The festival itself is a 501c3. The channel and the network that we want to build would be a private offshoot, the exact same model of Sundance. They have the foundation for the festival. And the reason that's a nonprofit is so that there can't be an appearance of we're taking money for winning judges' votes. It's very important that we separate out a profit motive from the award motive in the festival. The network itself, that initial investment, is a private company.
You have the right degrees. You have the right degrees. That's marking your favor. Speak loud. Speak loud. First of all, great pitch. I really enjoyed it. You're the first one that actually talks about an exit strategy. Congratulations. That's fantastic. How much money have you raised so far?
So since we moved the festival to Vermont and I took over in 2013, we've been able to raise nearly $750,000 just through the festival alone. The thing is, I've had to spend just about that on holding the festival in Dover because we have one movie theater and I'm holding an international television event. So I have to build out the movie theaters, massive 8,000 square foot tents every year. The goal originally was to take the leftover profit from the nonprofit and put it into the network. We would prefer to own the company 100%. My hand is being forced. The big guys are starting to notice. Netflix or an Amazon or an HBO is going to throw $10 or $20 million at this over the next over the next few years, and we're all going to be sitting there watching our shows get poached by these guys, missing out on the revenue opportunities. Perfect example, last year, one of our winners actually just got picked up by the Mark Gordon Company and the BBC to be put into a television adaptation. They found it at the fest. So we are starting to see our products that we have taken the time to curate and the people that the community that we've taken the time to build is starting to get vultured a little bit by the industry, and we want to make sure we have a central ownership of it all so that when they want it, they have to pay for it.
You have a board?
Yes. The nonprofit has a board.
Help me understand, I'm good with Mike. Help me understand how you acquire the content. So if it comes out of a show, you say you're going to spend $1 million to buy content.
Yeah.
As content continues to develop, how do you get ownership of that?
Great question. So the way that it works right now is because we are the premier festival for independent TV, people and content creators who are making these shows know that winning our festival is a huge feather in their cap. They can go into an agency or a network and say, we won ITV Fest, and it gives them a great opportunity. So they submit their shows to us. We have, like I said, 500 shows submitted to us this year from 23 countries. The content is coming to us. We filter it out, pick the best, screen the best, and then what happens is I've started talking with a lot of these content creators. I've taken the time to make the relationships with them over the last 3 years. I'm in New York 1 week a month. I'm in LA 1 week a month, meeting with these people, hanging out, getting the meetings. And I asked them all, if I was to come to you and say, I want to acquire the rights to your series for 30 grand for a year, and I want to put it together with 100 other shows that you saw at the festival, what would you say? They said, absolutely. A lot of these content creators right now, they just want to get paid back what they put into making the show. So that's why I can acquire 100 shows. I made the offer to Amazon. I said, give me $3.5 million, I'll give you 100 television pilots. They haven't said no yet. And the reason is they would spend 10 times that trying to produce the shows that we already have access to. So the $1 million that we're looking for in the investment would be used to go to these content creators and make an initial deal offer with them. You have a pilot, here's 30 grand to cover the pilot, here's another 60 to go make the next 3, 4, or 5 episodes. If, assuming that's the budget. Some of these show budgets, the guy that won Best Reality last year made a show on $400. It was incredible. The series that won Best Overall was made by a 24-year-old student out of Michigan. It's an amazing sci-fi series on $15,000. It was a full 60-minute episode. It captured 150 people's attention. You could hear a pin drop. So what's happening in the networks in Hollywood is they're focused on the people that they want to work with to get them big PR names. They're not focused on the talent level underneath that is simmering. And this is where we become that pipeline equivalent to Sundance.
Bob's got a question. Yeah, that's a great presentation, by the way.
Thank you.
Just a suggestion. I think that you should be running like crazy to find yourself a strategic partner right now, and I think you're going to need a lot more than $2.5 million. And so, I would just, there may be a strategic partner in Vermont, but I think you should be looking a lot of other places. You probably know that.
We are.
Yeah.
We are. Like I said, I've had the meetings with Amazon. I'm waiting to hear back from Netflix. HBO is one of our sponsors, and they are starting to consider this. They actually just launched an independent television division within HBO, and they gave me the first interview with them 2 months ago at our local event in New York to be able to ask what the programming was going to be like. Trust me, we're beating all the drums.
What's the form of the money you want? Besides cash or check?
Yeah. It would be an equity stake. It would be an equity stake. So the next steps would be, we would need to build a board for the private company. We would need to hire the team, and we would be looking for that initial equity position. The great thing is we already have subscribers. We already have an audience. These shows independently are bringing in 40 to 50 million people. And the advertising revenue on that alone would be enough to drive the first couple of years as we head towards that eventual buyout.
We have 1 minute 30 left.
Okay. Any other questions? All right.
Thank you. Kermit is next.
The next presenter is Resilience, Kermit Blackwood. And Phyllis, why don't you come and stand next to Kermit?
Sorry.
Hi, my name is Kermit Blackwood, and my company is called Resilience. We make all-natural supplements for animals. A little bit about me. I am a Marlboro graduate, Marlboro College here in Vermont. And I have been working with animals my whole life. I grew up on a ranch, and I've worked with animals this whole time. I started working with birds when I was a kid, and I've worked for as you can see, the Wildlife Conservation Society and their various parks and what have you, and the National Wildlife Refuge System, and I work a lot with chickens these days. So, the problem, there are about upwards of 900 and some thousand households raising chickens privately. There are upwards of 3 million chickens in these households and non-commercial farms. The problem is, all of the foods that we feed them and the sort of the strategy that we feed our domesticated chickens were designed and formulated for factory farming. Food goes right through the birds, it's very efficient. Chickens lay an egg a day, everybody's happy, the production is good. But the problem is in about 2 years, they begin to stop laying and they're destroyed because they simply are no longer able to keep up. Their bodies have worn out and their immune systems are broken, basically. When you have a backyard chicken, you're feeding them while you're feeding them from your kitchen and what have you. But the fact is that soy-based food and those fast foods, as we call them, with pellets and crumbles, they're still destroying the immune system of the chickens. 1950, your chicken, 68 days, that's as big as it got. No, in 47 days, that's what your broiler looks like. So they're actually bred to be genetically homogeneous and grow very well. When you have a backyard chicken, it's not doing well, its health starts to go, and generally people don't want to take it to the vet because it costs a lot of money. And when they do take the bird to the vet, suddenly they realize that their chicken is a bird, and vets don't often have a lot of experience with birds. And it's a chicken, so how much do you want to spend on a chicken? The solution is resilience for birds. And none of these birds up here will live past 14 months. They're all bred, for factory farming, they're all bred to be destroyed or eaten, what have you. And in captivity, we do the same thing, we feed them that way. But resilience for birds is an enhanced dietary supplement. And if you can pay for it. It is antimicrobial, antibacterial, antiviral, antifungal, and antiparasitic. The things that are in it, if you could advance it, is there's a number of what we call nutraceutical ingredients, things that have medicinal properties that are medicinal, basically. You can use this supplement for preventative measures, and you can also use it to treat something when it's sick. If you could advance it, I appreciate it. You can just keep advancing on a regular basis. Thank you. So each one of these are some of the things. Now, if we could just play this, because this is probably going to be more helpful. If you could play that. This is Delilah. Delilah is a chicken, obviously. It's called a Quechua from Peru. Martha Stewart imported these chickens. This chicken contracted something called Marek's. Marek's is generally a fatal disease. The birds are completely paralyzed, and you just have to put them down. There's nothing you can do about it. I gave this bird, this was in April, I had given the bird, it was completely paralyzed. I gave it a treatment of resilience, one treatment, and then another about 2 weeks later, and then one more at the end of the month. And she got out of the nest box and was actually able to walk. So we can move it again to the next one, please. This is her in June, and I have not given her any more treatments. The bird is now able to walk, and she's got less of she's less disabled. You can move along. Here she is in July, on the 5th of July. And I actually had one more, but we couldn't get it to you in time, but she's actually setting on eggs right now. But she now is able to walk and scratch and do all of her things as if she didn't have any Marek's. So that's pretty remarkable, given that in all of the years of poultry science, no one has come up with a solution for Marek's other than destroying the birds. So that is it in a nutshell. Moving on, my team, if you could move that forward. Well, my personal story, I was going to tell you about the Congo peafowl. At the Bronx Zoo, I worked with one of the world's rarest birds called the Congo peafowl. It's a member of the chicken family. Chickens are birds again. 36 of them were all that was left in captivity. They were not faring well. Under my watch, a Congo peafowl started to get sick. Protocol was to tell the vets. The vets came and they handled it and they took blood and what have you, but it died of stress. And when they finally opened it up and we looked at it, we realized that everything that was wrong with it, most of it anyway, had to do with the fact that its food was based for turkeys and it was inefficient or insufficient for Congo peafowl. What I had hoped then is that I know now that I wish that I had a product like Resilience that I could boost the immune system of the bird before and after any veterinary care is necessary. So that was the catalyst back in 1993 or so when Ellen Darren felt that we could move it forward, and I started working together. She was the head of the zoo nutrition program, and we developed our first line of feeds together, Resolve Sustainable Solutions. That we have a whole line of feeds, and that company is now licensed and has made a little over $1 million in 2015. Also, we have Phyllis, who is the person who is running this business, if you could push that forward. So now we have this new company, and it's called Resilience, and I think it's going to be really fantastic. Actually, I know it's going to be fantastic. So, thank you.
Doug? That's it. So is this something that you provide birds when they're sick, or is it something that you give them all the time?
It's both. So you can use it as a preventative. So say you get a dozen chicks in the mail, you can mix it up with some oatmeal, and all 12 of your chicks got that Resilience, and you can feel pretty safe that they will, have got the benefits of this. Also, if one of those chicks isn't looking well, or say you've got chicks and one's not looking well, you can just give it some and then you've given it a treatment.
We're going to Bob first. Great presentation, really interesting. I'm just curious, because I've never raised chickens, although I know people who have. When you talk about the problem, as I understand it, is basically you're trying to raise chickens for some eggs for yourself, and the chickens only live about 2 years because of the feed they have. And my question is, and maybe a stupid question, but how big a problem is that? In other words, if the chickens only last 2 years and then you have to replace them, how big an investment is that? And is that, where does the sort of, how does that local chicken grower think about the problem? What are they going to pay to get another couple of years life out of a chicken? I mean,
Thank you for that question. Obviously, with the features that I've described, you can solve some of those problems. But a chicken should be able to lay until it's 10 or older. It doesn't need to stop laying. It's the food and the way that we feed them that limits their lifespan. And the question that you had is, if you just replace your birds every 2 years, then what's the difference? But these days, people are going and they're buying chickens for much more than they used to. They might buy an adult bird. And they're willing to pay a lot because they can't, well, not a lot, in relative terms, they can afford to keep their birds healthy because their kids have named it, and they've already invested in their chicken coop, and they are, really invested in their hobby. So it's a good alternative to antibiotics and anti-parasitics and so on.
Go to Andrew next.
My question was the same as Bob, but then do you have numbers specifically on the cost of this treatment?
Yes.
I might have missed.
How much it sells for retail? Phyllis, do you want to answer that?
Yes. This product, the product is going to retail for in the neighborhood of about $19 an ounce, which may sound like a lot, but each bird gets a very small quantity as a dose. So it works out to about 38 cents a dose. And a healthy chicken, if you want to simply feed it some of this on a regular basis, like you would take vitamins or probiotics to keep yourself healthy, the chickens only need it how often?
About every 3 weeks or so.
Every 3 weeks, 4 weeks. So that's not a lot of money to spend to keep your bird healthy in a holistic way without having to treat it with antibiotics or worming medicines and things like that. So it's really pretty cost effective as a way of keeping your birds healthy. And these birds are pets, they're family pets really, in addition to being a source of income for a lot of people that are selling eggs and so forth.
So changes things.
Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
You described the peafowl as being compromised by a turkey diet that wasn't appropriate for the breed. But you're proposing that this supplement would be ingestible universally by fowl.
Yeah, all
How would you convince a zookeeper responsible for the rarest bird in the world to feed your product to their birds when they have responsibility like that?
Well, we have Ellen Derenfeld, number one. She's a leading zoo nutritionist. And we've already formulated diets specifically for Congo peafowl. This is a nutraceutical supplement. So this is something that one feeds along with food. It's in itself not a food, but it obviously makes the egg yolk much healthier, so you might hatch more chicks, they might be more, they might have more survivability, and it's a preventative to keep them from getting infected with the various things that they might come in contact with, like microbes.
And zoos have already tried the product.
Yes, and zoos use them. Yeah.
Do you have any direct comparative evidence, like clinical trials? Because obviously antibiotics and parasiticides are very expensive medicines.
Yes.
I'm interested in sort of like how you compare the cost benefit there, like how you arrive at that dosage, because that obviously is going to be important how much you give the animals. Just a bit of detail on that would be great.
Yes. So far right now we have a lot of anecdotal information through the last couple of years of trials. Just with various breeders and zoos and what have you. In our next phase, what I would really like to be able to do, and be able to afford to do, frankly, is to have proper clinical analysis. Each one of the nutraceutical ingredients that goes into this product has had plenty of trials that that are readily available. You could read up on rodents and what have you, but there hasn't been any very specific work on birds. So the next most important thing is to stage actual trials with birds with this product.
So I hear you marketing this towards like the backyard chicken enthusiast, but does it have any applications for factory farms? I mean, would they want to keep their laying hens alive?
Oh, absolutely. The larger farm, it would be perfect for them. There isn't a problem going in that direction, but I'm marketing it towards the backyard chicken flock because they seem to have the most access to, I wouldn't say the best access. They're my biggest customers with another product line that I created, so I know them better.
So we're going to do Steve next. I think this is all we got time for.
What is the cost to you to manufacture a dose, and what do you have for revenue projections and net bottom line projections for, let's say, the next 5 years?
I'm going to let Phyllis answer that for you.
Right now, we're working on a 40-gallon batch. We have a manufacturer who can produce it for us. For that one first batch, we're projecting that our sales and we think it would take about 8 to 12 months to sell through that first batch. That should produce about $89,500 worth of sales. Our cost of goods sold would be about a little over $35,000. So we're looking at about a 60% gross profit margin.
And $6.90 per
is our cost for a 1 ounce. We're looking at packaging these in a 1 ounce tube because a little bit goes a long way. That's our tagline.
10 more seconds.
Yeah. Did I answer your question?
You did. Thank you.
Thank you.
So our next presenter is Christine Moore from Storm Petrol.
Hi there. How's the audio? Better here? Okay. My name is Christina Moore, and I'm the founder of Storm Petrol LLC. The company and our flagship product, Tempest Gems, are the result of Hurricane Irene. My background, while focused on information technology and software development, includes decades of government projects, regulatory compliance, and crisis and emergency management. When disasters hit communities, people rebuild their lives, their roads, their bridges, and reopen essential services. Vermonters saw this firsthand in 2011. The U.S. government is directed by the Robert T. Stafford Act, championed by the Vermont Senator, to reduce the financial burden of disasters on local taxpayers. Federal agencies like FEMA, the Federal Highway Administration, Housing and Urban Development each have grant programs for local governments to clean up and restore services after hurricanes, floods, fires, and tornadoes. I saw an opportunity to improve the experience for towns, counties, and even states. Tempest Gems, a grant expense management system, simplifies the financial tracking, collects and collates the required documents, and advises users if they're missing documents as it builds the required grant submissions. We delivered our proof of concept in February of 2013. Tempest Gems 1 was used here by our customers in Windham and Windsor counties. And so founded on a good business model, there is $50 billion in federal disaster recovery funds available at any one time. We charge a tiny percentage as a grant management fee, and that fee is normally reimbursed by the funding agency. Tempest Gems is sold as a subscription service and hosted securely at Amazon Web Services. Our delivery and hosting costs are extremely low, and the marketplace is huge. Oh. So, the Inspector General audits, grants, and issues findings on the performance of both their own agencies of the Department of Homeland Security and grant recipients, local governments. Their findings have driven our development, causing us to expand the capabilities of our software. As of June 2016, the Inspector General for the Department of Homeland Security found that 75% of local governments failed to follow federal law during 2016. The Inspector General audited $84 million in funding and found critical flaws, and these flaws may result in the recapture of $60 million. So funds that will be reclaimed by FEMA, and these costs are then shifted back to the back pockets of local taxpayers. Compounding this problem, the federal government changed the laws governing grant management with the production of 2 CFR 200. During 2016 and 2017, every state, county, and municipal agency must review their procurement policy and contract policy to affirm compliance with this new law. These two challenges and our nascent product position Storm Petrol to uniquely deliver a solution to the marketplace. And that's what we did this May. Our product has a procurement policy assessment tool, so we're able to take a community's procurement policy and measure it against a national standard, national law. And then each time an organization goes through the contract procurement cycle, we provide that community a score on their compliance with the federal law. And furthermore, we took our product and we pushed it beyond the boundaries of FEMA, picking up other federal products, federal grant products from HUD, FHWA, and USDA. So the slide shows we did our first proof of concept in 2013. We added a robust document management system, and we attended our first national conference in 2014. We have 2 competitors in the marketplace, and this summer we've successfully displaced one of them with a new customer. As mentioned, the total disaster relief fund is $50 billion, and we downloaded all of FEMA's data and did some data mining on it, and we found an optimal target market of about 1,700 applicants These applicants have at least 3 grants with an average value of greater than $125,000. So the target market, if we captured that, would bring us a revenue in excess of $2 million. Just a quick introduction to myself. I've been doing software development off and on for 30 years. That includes working in a boutique firm that I owned in the 80s and 90s, software development at FedEx, and Cisco Systems, and I deployed with the U.S. Army's 4th Infantry Division as a civilian to Iraq for a year. My partner, John Gleason, is the CTO. He's here in the office. And this year I hired a VP of Business Development, and we have 1 programmer and 1 part-time bookkeeper. So we seek investor funding to expand our national sales effort. We wish to improve our marketing and assist with operational costs during the lengthy government sales and contracting process. We also seek guidance from those who have successfully taken a startup company to a highly profitable software services company. And then the checklist here is intended to illustrate our readiness for scale-up. Thank you for your attention.
So I have a question about marketing, and that your customers typically have a disaster happen. So that they're primed to buy your product once the disaster hits. So the challenge at the front end is, how do you find that's target market, or how do you get those customers before the fact, or what's your plan around that?
Sure. So there's 2 parts. Jim, right? Jim identified that part of our sales approach is the ServPro. We can read about disasters in the newspaper, and Teresa Carter, our VP of Business Development, simply drives in and starts the marketing process, sells directly. She's got fantastic credentials. You can walk into any office. This will result in an RFP, a request for proposal, which we then have to compete for openly, unless the values are, So the second thing is we're starting to accumulate what we call pre-positioned contracts. These are contracts that have already been bid in advance of a disaster. So when I go down to my brother banker here on Main Street and I said, dude, can I borrow a little money? Show me your contracts, and it says 0. We have these lovely $0 contracts. We have one through Houston Galveston Area Council, which is 6,000 U.S. NGOs, counties, governments, etc., that we can sell directly to without competition. We've already been cleared, but the cash value is quite literally 0 until, somebody gets hit. Did I answer the question?
Yes.
Cool.
I apologize. I'm
No
very
worries.
confused. So your product helps the government recapture or prevent money from going to claimants in disasters that are not properly processed. Did I get that right, or am I way off?
You're really close. And I was trying to compliment your glasses earlier. I do like them a lot. The product is sold to states, counties, and local governments with the intent of managing federal grants better than people are managing them now. And by managing them better, the idea is that these local governments, state government, county governments keep more of their money. They're more efficient in managing those dollars, and they have cleaner audits when they go through the experience with the inspectors general.
So this is for all grants, has nothing to do with disasters, or do you need a disaster to get your grant, to get these grants?
Part of the mystery of starting a company is finding a market that you can hit, find a market you know, and sell to that market. I know disasters, that's where we're starting. And to stand up here and sell, I can do any grant anywhere, we're not there yet.
So I'm good with that. So what, again, I'm still trying to narrow in on what you're saying. So what would a grant be for in a disaster?
Absolutely. Mr. Cole,
Yeah.
what do you use a grant for after a disaster?
So your bridge gets wiped out in your local town, it's gonna cost you $2 million to replace it, you pay 75%. You don't have good documentation, 5 years later, the OIG comes in, now you, the town, has to pay.
Got it.
No.
So this
This
is-
is an insurance policy to make sure you follow the federal rules.
So this is not for payments to individuals who lost property. This got, thank you, that's the piece I need.
Government between government.
I'm going to have Chris continue to answer my questions because he's
So you mentioned competition. How are you
Yes.
better or different than your competition?
Well, we're number 2. So we're second in the market. So that gives us the opportunity to be more responsive. We can look around and see what they're not doing. And nobody has responded to this sweeping change in grant management law. So we picked that up. We study and read these OIG reports, and we think the IGs, the inspectors general, are our greatest marketing tool. How is the government going to try to do something to you, and what can we do to prevent that? So we look at that as a marketing tool. So that's where we've been picking our features up. Does that make sense?
Is there a lot of competition in this area? Or?
No. There's quite literally one other company, and he has sold to 8 states. 8. I'll stick with that answer.
Jeff?
So you mentioned right there, ready to scale up.
Yes, sir.
What does that mean to you?
Well, I currently have a sales model which has one very strategic salesperson chasing disasters, and we can pick up big strategic sales and we can pick up some other stuff. But in order to penetrate that market of 1,700 applicants, we need a slightly different model that involves more of a tiger team, multidisciplinary sales team, inside sales, outside sales, a researcher, and some better digital marketing. And my husband and I have been self-funding for 3 years. I haven't taken a penny in income. So we'd like to shift the sales model and bring in some cash for the sale of equity and some sell a part of the revenue over the next few years.
So Chris has a question.
So your competitor sells just to states,
He has been selling only to states.
and your product is geared towards local municipalities?
And states. Our understanding is that many of the grants that benefit local governments and county governments are administered by the state, so it's a shared responsibility.
But because you have a targeted localities and municipalities, your market share is completely different than your competitors. Okay, thank you.
David, I think this is next.
Yeah, I've done some disaster recovery planning. I get the challenges of that stress moment when something goes bad. And I guess I'm still trying to understand what's the life cycle of your product. I really want to know what kind of the cost equation is, but do I take it through the entire grant process and then I'm done with it? Or how does that, what's its life cycle?
Sure. The life cycle of the product is basically from flash to archive, which when you're building a $60 million school system can be a decade. We sell for roughly 1% of the value of the grant. So that's our revenue. We essentially get that once up front early on in the grant cycle. And then we are your software partner that you use through the entire construction process in the 3 to 5 year archive period thereafter.
And is there a cost to the community for that?
We charge the applicant for the use of the software with the understanding that the federal funding agency may reimburse some portion of those dollars.
Yep, one more question for Richard.
Yeah, just trying to,
Okay, thanks. Sounds very interesting. So, what percentage of market share would you say you have? I'm trying to quantify the market.
Sure.
So,
sure.
and sort of, how much revenue have you?
How much revenue do we have?
Yeah. How do you see it growing as well?
Sure. I can count my customers on my hands. So, given the size of the market, we have 5 consulting engineering firms that are out there using our product and helping serve the same community. And we have 4 or 5 or more counties or local governments buying directly from us. And we're selling more of these sort of $0 pre-position contracts.
But just one last question about you. That's the whole thing. How much?
The whole thing?
Like revenue, how much is going to?
Oh, my revenue right now? On television? With my neighbors present? I'd be very happy to answer that. I've got some copies of the business plan, and I'd be very happy to share that with you. So, yes, I will answer that question.
presenter is Michelle Simpson Siegel from Oak Meadow School.
Let's give Michelle a hand. All right, good afternoon, everybody. I'm Michelle Simpson Siegel, Executive Director at Oak Meadow Independent Learning. I really thank you for the opportunity to talk to you all today. And I'd like you all to take out your device, your phone, right now. I'm sure it's handy. And I would like you to please find out what's in this bag. Google what's in this bag. Give it a try.
Ham's bag of stuff.
And of course, has anyone having any luck? Oh, they're really trying, actually. Did you play that? So of course you cannot figure out what's in the bag by trying to Google it. He's still trying. Right. And certainly this is really at the core and the heart of Oak Meadow and our philosophy. Some things can only be learned by direct experience. And that's really how we've differentiated ourselves in the online learning space. So for example, I can tell you that my daughter took an online babysitting course from the Red Cross, and I think she scored 100%. She did wonderfully. She has not touched a baby or changed a diaper, and I would not feel confident having her do so, even though she passed that competency. So really, why do families come to Oak Meadow? They come to Oak Meadow because they believe, just as we do, that how we spend our days is how we spend our lives. And certainly the kids over there on that slide in front of their computers, they're doing something, they're getting something, they're learning something. But these are photos of our students, of our Oak Meadow students, actually discovering, nurturing their curiosity, doing, making, really playing in a lot of ways and learning from that play. Now, we're certainly not tech phobes, but we are interested in that proper balance and the appropriate use of technology. I think you're going to have to advance it for me, RT, down the bottom. Thank you. So, oh, back one. Thanks. So basically, our model offers families the structure and the vigor of an independent school education with the freedom and flexibility of homeschooling at a very affordable price. We provide a flexible, progressive, experiential education to independent learners all around the world. Here are some of our students. This is Sam Powell right here. His parents work for the State Department. When he was in the lower grades in elementary school, he was diagnosed with a mystery disorder. And the doctors said that he would not be able to function in a school. He probably wouldn't be able to read or write. Sam actually now just got accepted into Columbia, just graduated with Oak Meadow. Often when you change the environment for a student and give them a different pathway, they really can thrive. Here's another one of our students, Bubba Sugarman, who lives down south. He is so interested in flying. There he is flying a helicopter. He wanted to become a pilot, and that is really how he wanted to spend his time. Here's another one of our students, Hamza. He lives in the United Emirates, and his family educates all of their kids with Oak Meadow because it's a really good fit for their family. And here too, we have a few of our other high school students. Lily Telford lives out in Hawaii. She's now pursuing her acting career. And here is Vladimir Fung, who's a world-class cello player. We serve a real spectrum of students and families. A little history about us. We were founded in 1975. We have students in all 50 states and in 59 countries. We were the first distance learning school to be accredited by NEASC, which is the New England Association of Schools and Colleges. Might not mean anything to you guys. It's a very big deal in the educational landscape. Excuse me. We gross $3 million annually, and we have 60 employees. We have 3 distinct revenue streams. So we do straight up curriculum sales to homeschoolers. Now there are over 2 million homeschoolers in the United States, and that number keeps growing. They come to us because our curriculum has been around, it's tried and true. We have great history and a great reputation. We also serve distance learners. They can enroll in our accredited program. There are about 750,000 K through 12 online learners in the United States. And then the other revenue stream is addressing new schools, serving new schools in getting them off the ground, supporting them in that. So that includes domestic charter schools and also the international market. And this is really what we're focusing on right now today for this pitch. So currently we sell curriculum to about over 100 charter schools in the US, but we're fielding about 3 to 5 inquiries per week of people who call us and say, I'd like to start a school, how can you help? And these range from a guy in the Philippines called us. He said that his son has a 4-hour round trip to his school in Manila. This guy wants to start a school in his own neighborhood just so that the kids can spend more time learning and not as much time in transit. We're already working with groups in China, Dubai, India, Ecuador, and in the US. So these are our Chinese partners in Kunming. That's a city of 7 million people. They sought us out because they are opening a series of independent learning centers because they would like to offer children in China the same kinds of flexible learning opportunities. As you see that picture up there with me in it, what you've ever heard about national schools in China, the stereotype, kind of true. It's very rote, large classes, not a lot of room for original thought, for independent thinking, or for creativity. And the Chinese, especially our partners, certainly want to change that and offer up some opportunities to those kids. So this is what we need. We're looking for an investment of $500,000. A lot of that is to go towards developing our student information system that we have already designed for ourselves. We'd like to get that as a sellable product. We also need to invest in some course development, digital course development, so we can kind of train the trainers, so that we can bundle these products and say, hey, you want to start a school? Here's everything you need. You have our curriculum, you have our student information system, here's some training materials. We're going to need a little web redesign on our website. We'll need additional marketing and promotional material, and some translation fees too. We already have had one of our landmark foundational books, The Heart of Learning, translated into Chinese, but certainly there is a huge market to translate some of our other curriculum materials into Chinese, and then also Spanish is the other market. And then additional legal fees as well. That's just a screenshot of our student information system. And I'm ready for questions. I know you want to know what's in the bag. That's your first question, right? What's in the bag? No, it's actually giant dice.
Questions from
So you're already doing 3 million of revenue. Is there a way that you can try to start squeezing some of the money you need for this out of your existing revenue streams instead of trying to raise external money?
Well, it's a great question, because we are going to be doing this no matter what, but if we have that initial investment, we can do it better, faster, and serve this immediate need that we have. We can't serve this immediate need quite as quickly as we can with an investment out of the revenue.
Yes, great presentation, really interesting. So when you talk about the investment, the investor gets a chunk of the whole company, or is this a separate company, or how are you structuring the investment?
We can talk after. I'll steal her line. That was your line. On TV with friends and neighbors. Other questions?
Are you planning to, is this a franchise model? I read that into it, so they're going to franchise
Yes.
Oak Meadow across the board?
Yes, the independent learning centers will be Oak Meadow branded and it's franchisable. All of these people can start their own schools all around the world.
And have you figured out how that revenue stream is going to drive back to you?
Yes, so the bundle of products that we would sell, that's the revenue stream, and then we're also considering branding license as well.
Nothing to do with tuition fees for the students?
They can enroll with us, but this particular product is not enrollment based. But we do enroll students all around the world, so that's happening anyway.
Yeah, so with that happening, it seems like that was online learning, but your whole pitch was hands-on learning. Can
It's
you
a
explain
hybrid.
that?
I would love to explain that. So our print-based curriculum, it demands that students not sit in front of a computer. When they interface online, it's for communication, creativity, and collaboration. So many online schools are like a click-click model. You sit in front of the screen, you read a paragraph, and then you answer multiple choice questions. What we're doing is really taking the best of what we know from every educational philosophy. We're having students mostly work on projects, and we're demanding that they go out, do, make, explore, experiment, discover, interview, engage, solve real problems, and then they come back, and that's where they're sharing their work in an online space. And that's really in grades 7 through 12. For little ones, we're actually staking our philosophical claim there to hold back on technology. And many people prefer that. Many people in Silicon Valley actually.
Question I
Yes.
have for you regarding NIASC accreditation.
Yes.
So when a franchisee purchases your curriculum, will they also be seen as, or will have that accreditation from NIASC?
No, because that goes back to the enrollment piece. Why aren't they all going to enroll? We're not, because of the accreditation, we can't really be an umbrella. Our accreditation can't be an umbrella for all these other schools. But all these other schools can use our curriculum and our products.
So
Does that
you're
make
using
sense?
the Oak Meadow accreditation from NIASC, from your own selling point, just for your own school?
For our own school, correct. So there's really those two arms of the organizations, our curriculum sales and then our own accredited school. And this pitch is really about curriculum sales bundled with a new product of here's some software to help you, asynchronous. The software is designed for students who are moving through a program asynchronously. Everything out there right now, Moodle, PowerSchool, Blackboard, all that software is designed for students in a brick and mortar school, moving through as a cohort synchronously from September to June. None of it worked for us in our school, so we developed our own to work
Either
for
Canvas or Blackboard?
Didn't really quite work. Yep. Not for our specific needs. So our student information system works brilliantly for independent learners in independent learning centers that we're hoping to support all around the world.
It seems like it's fairly pricey software.
And I guess, have you done a revenue model? How many students does the school have to make it viable for them to pay you for your product?
Yes and no. In some ways, that's their problem, not ours. If they want to start a school, we're going to provide them with all of the tools they need to start that independent learning center, to start that school. Some people call it a micro school, some people call it an independent learning center. We know that we would need to sell about 25 of these, of this bundle of product to make back that initial $500,000 investment.
I have a question. If you are going to franchise, are you aware of the fact that you have to develop both a federally approved disclosure statement as well as disclosure statements for every state that you franchise in? There's millions of dollars in legal fees.
Well, I better up that last line item.
It really is.
What did I have, 75,000? We'll up it to millions. 75 million? 75 million, yeah.
How are we doing this?
2 minutes.
Any other questions?
More questions? I have one. It started in 1975. You obviously didn't start it in 1975.
No.
Can you tell me a little about how that all, yeah, actually you should franchise that. a little about how that all came about.
Sure, actually, the co-founder and president is actually sitting right here, Lawrence Williams. So Lawrence began Oak Meadow first as a brick and mortar school, and this was back in 1975. Homeschooling was actually illegal in all 50 states at that time. He had a brick and mortar school that lost the lease on a school building. He was quite upset that all of these families weren't really going to have an option. So he and his late wife, Bonnie, decided to put the curriculum into print for home use. And then that led him on a path to becoming quite a champion to getting homeschooling legalized in the United States. So we are already sort of known nationally and in international pockets for being the leaders in homeschooling, in secular homeschooling, I actually might add. That's a very important distinction. The homeschool market is quite big. Secular homeschooling market isn't quite as big, but is growing. Great, thank you very much.
Our last presenter is Tamara Stent, who will present about Kusiki.
Get more form. Any extra survey form? Form 2.
I'm looking at these sweaters that are nice.
Well, do you know, are there any more forms? Are there any more forms?
I have a few more. I just need one.
I have an extra.
We're good. We're good.
We're good.
Perfect.
We're good. We're good.
So excellent. Well, welcome. So my name is Tamara, and I'm here from Kusiki. Kusiki means make yourself happy in Quechua, and that's the language of the women that I've been working with for the last 18 years. I discovered alpaca hand-knit gloves, which is what I work with, when I was a Peace Corps volunteer in Bolivia back in 1996, and I was a business developer there. I'm a professor of entrepreneurship and continue to be a business developer here as well. When I went to Bolivia, I saw there was many tourists that were wearing something called alpaca sweaters. At that time, I didn't know what an alpaca was. And I did some research and found out it was an animal with amazing fiber, 6 times warmer than lamb's wool, softer than cashmere, machine washable, stronger than mohair. Hands down, it was a superior fiber to the wool that I had been more used to. So I knew I wanted to go to graduate school and study more about developing economies, which is what I was working on in Bolivia. And I had my eyes set on the School for International Training here in Vermont, where I also knew it would be cold. So I quickly put 2 and 2 together, saw an opportunity right there, and came here to grad school with a bag of sweaters that I had hand knit in Bolivia out of alpaca wool. And I started selling them at the Newfang flea market and soon traded them for a website that was designed by Marlboro College graduates back in 1999. So when you Google alpaca sweater, we were always #1. We're one of the first alpaca companies ever online. Fast forward, the company continued to grow. We had over $500,000 in sales, working with clients such as Guyam, Whole Foods, Timberland, sales internationally. I was a single mom. I wanted to take some time for my children, so I actually took a break from all of that and took a 7-year hiatus where I became a professor. I have a doctorate now in leadership and development. I published a book based on the entire experience that I had in Bolivia working with the women in the fair trade industry. Because in the process of developing Kusiki,
This is some of the products that we had made right before, this is our last product line that we had done back in 2007. So we're working with beautiful hand-knit cable sweaters, working with men and women. We had a children's line. And we got the attention of designers from around the world. And I started to have a very exclusive private clientele of designers that I would produce products for. And that was what sustained the knitters while I took time off from marketing my company and became a professor and started working in an environment that more matched my children's environment, where I thought I could homeschool and bring them all over Bolivia and Peru while I did my production and went to trade shows. It wasn't really good for them. But fast forward now, 9 months ago, my children said, Mom, they're now in high school, why don't you do that kusikwi thing again? Remember that kusikwi thing you used to do? And I said, yeah, I remember that. They said, why don't you do that? You're helping all these other people start their businesses. I've helped scores of students start businesses, and I've also worked with businesses here in town. They said, why don't you go do that for yourself again? So I said, all right, and I went down, I started working with Valley Venture Mentors, which is a mentorship capitalist investment group down in Springfield, Mass. And through their guidance, I contracted some of the designers I've worked with, had them come up with the design for our products here, and came up with the idea of the on glove, rebranded the product, really took a look at our relationship that we have with the women. We now have them handwriting thank you cards that come with the package. We designed our own special boxes. We're relaunching our company now as Sustainable Luxury, and that was the big question, is how is this going to become scalable? So we started looking beyond just Bolivia at the whole entire world, and looking at the model that we have of sustainability, which is very important, because in the clothing market, for example, it's one of the most polluting economies of the entire world, second only to oil. When you look at what goes into making clothing, there's farmers committing suicide hundreds a day over in India right now because they're not making enough money to cover the cost of their cotton production, and in shame they commit suicide. Same thing with garment workers who are killed, burnt alive in factories whose doors are shut so that they can't leave, so that they can do as much work as possible for as little pay as possible. These are common things that happen every single day in the garment industry. It's very visible, very easy to see online. There's also a tremendous movement now towards throwaway clothes, right? How many of us are constantly looking at things that are falling apart, getting rid of them? We also have a lot of high-performance fibers now that are treated with lots of chemicals. Those all go into landfills. That leaches into water systems, that poisons our environment. So there's a lot happening right now in the clothing industry that's incredibly harmful, and people are looking for alternatives. And that's where Kusikwi comes in, because we only work with handmade, natural fibers that are locally sourced. The alpaca that we have is the finest alpaca in the world. Its heritage goes back to the Inca kings. I discovered alpaca in Bolivia. I researched it, and I saw in the museums where they had 5,000-year-old textiles, 3,000-year-old textiles, they were made out of alpaca. It survived the eons. And that was the fiber I chose to use with my company. I found over time my sweaters last 10 years. My gloves last for 5. So we started discovering this idea of slow fashion. What we're doing now with our relaunch, before we would produce a lot of product at an affordable price, kind of for everybody. And now what we're doing instead is we're working in luxury fashion. And what that means is we have a limited edition. So for my launch of my product right now, and you can see we can make anything. For my launch of my product right now, what we're doing is we're making 800 gloves. We currently have a Kickstarter campaign. We're almost at our $10,000 mark with that right now. I've already raised $40,000 in additional capital to invest into this company. We're looking for more, because what we're doing now is we're establishing ourselves as a brand. And the first place that we have is this idea of alpaca. And then once we have the money from the gloves and we've relaunched ourselves in this way, we will invest that into developing the sweaters. Because the gloves, they cost me about $35 to make, and we sell them for $100, okay? The sweaters cost about $80 to make, and they sell for $400. Okay? So it's an investment, but it's also an investment in something that takes a lot of time and a lot of care and a lot of love to make. This glove has 2,000 stitches and takes one woman 12 hours to make. While she's making it, she's thinking about you, the person who's going to be wearing it. What's your life like? What are you doing? And she's putting blessings into that glove. The people that we work with are indigenous, and they have a very strong indigenous belief system that's woven into the work that they do and how they live their lives every day. We are not the only company, Bolivia is not the only place in the world where this happens.
So to scale this company, what I started looking at is where are there other environments where there's a very unique local fiber. There's amazing skills that are still intact. It's a country that hasn't been industrialized yet. And where are there opportunities for us to be able to expand and have clothing there? So we're looking at summer line in Ghana. We're looking at silk in Cambodia. We're looking at yak in Nepal. So all of these places have this type of skill and this type of product that we're then able to bring to modern markets today.
That's why we were invited here. So I think it's fascinating. I love alpaca, and I agree with everything you say. When you start talking about creating a luxury brand, you're talking about doing something that, in my humble opinion, is one of the most difficult things to do, costs a lot of money, and takes a lot of time. How are you planning on, who is your customer for this? How are you going to reach that customer? And how are you going to build the brand over what period of time?
Right. So what we're doing now is I have my answers here. So this, by the way, in case you were wondering, this is our local motorcycle shop. Okay, Stanley's Motorcycle Shop, and some of the guys right here in Brattleboro modeled the Glintons for you guys. So, and they loved them. So that's the nice thing about these gloves is they're very versatile. So talking about who our customer is, I'm going to fast forward here. So this is Myra, for example. Our customer is not quite as sophisticated and inaccessible as they might seem. What's happened now is the idea of sustainable fashion is trending, and it's trending amongst the millennials because they take notice of what's happening and what kind of world is being left for them and what kind of world are they going to be leaving for their own children. So for them, the idea of spending $100 on a glove, it's not a status symbol. It's the idea of I'm going to be doing my own contribution to help sustain this planet because I don't want to buy into this throwaway environment where human rights are being violated and resources are being wasted. So Myra, for example, is our client. She lives in New York City, she shops at Whole Foods, she'll spend a few extra bucks on something organic. She's not going to have a gigantic closet, she doesn't live in a McMansion. She's going to have a few select items that are very carefully constructed, and she'll have them paired with thrift store clothes, because hey, that's upcycling, that works too. So she might have a thrift store skirt and her expensive glove and maybe a designer bag. She's not spending a huge amount of money on her wardrobe, but it's lasting a very long time, and she's taking a lot of care in knowing exactly what she's buying and where it's coming from. So to reach these people is through our story. Because I have such a strong relationship with the women, I've seen their children grow up, I have pictures here of some of the women, that's really where people see that authenticity. Our relationship that we have with the women, how we know them in their lives. Here I am, that was in May, working with Amelia, who I've known for 18 years, and she's the knitting leader. And I even brought her here to the United States. She's spoken at many universities. So all of the gloves are signed by the person that makes them and with a message. And then what we're looking at doing also with the social media is being able to, 20% of the folks in Bolivia have smartphones right now. And in Africa, it's about the same. So we're looking at how can we use that smartphone technology so you can send a text to the woman that just made your glove and say, hey, I love this, look at me. And she can send a text back, hey, thank you so much, love it too. You know, or an image, even better.
So you have a great advantage that you've done this once before. But this time you're raising a lot more money. I'm just going to say, how will the business be different this time than it was the first time you sold sweaters?
Yeah, so the business, the first time I did it, I started with $1,500 and basically just, you know, as I sold product, I invested it back into the company and, you know, little by little we reached that $500,000 mark. What we're doing now is we're pre-investing. A lot of the money's going into marketing and design and branding because that's important, but now that's established. So that's one of the things that we wanted to do is establish the name, get us in the stores, and then start introducing, because this is an easy product, you know, $100 down, you know, this is accessible. And then what it'll do, it'll build confidence and knowledge of our name, so when we come up with the $500 sweater, which is next year's plan, and the full accessory lines, people are comfortable with that brand and they can continue to start buying into that. So that's where, and also with social media, that's the other thing that changed a lot, right? This is 7 years have gone by, and now there's a tremendous amount of social media. So some of the money's going to be invested into that. A lot of it's really just, you know, the products cost a lot of money to make. Back in the day, I would spend $13 to make these. You know, I was hitting the women hard, asking them, make as much as you can, as cheap as you can, go, 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 you know, working with quantity. And what happened was I drove them into the ground. They were exhausted, I was exhausted. We used to sell smaller products like these. We would sell them for like $45. You know, and what happened was to be able to have a sustainable living, and I would pay them maybe $15 to make this. And to have a sustainable living like that, it doesn't work. So now we're doing limited edition. There's 800 gloves. Either you get it or you don't. And if you don't get it, oh well, you'll have to wait till next year when the next product line comes out. So we're working with that idea of exclusivity. I'm paying the women almost double for their production so they can relax and make their gloves. They can plan in advance and know we're going to be making 800 gloves. They can plan their lifestyle, they can plan their expenses, and it becomes more sustainable for all of us.
If you go to a boutique in Georgetown, a t-shirt will cost $100. Lululemon tights on Church Street in Burlington are $80. You have a lot of experience with this product and the values that it represents to someone who buys it and wears it. How do you anticipate crossing the bridge to the deeply urban industry experience needed to position this product where it can sell for $100?
Right. And what we're looking at with that, because we have the experience of producing products at that level already, what we found, because we do have this with a Kickstarter, we do have sales set up. So we have New York, Chicago, San Francisco, Boston, those are our main markets, where there are exclusive designer boutiques that will buy these types of products, and we also have an online following with that. So that's where we're looking at making the inroads, is in that environment, and then we can expand into the spa environment. Also, Europe is a very big market. They've always been a very big market for us. We've sold in China as well, and Southeast Asia. So there's pockets of places where people really understand and value sustainable clothing, but there's no access to it. So here's some data where people are looking at, well, what's the main barrier? It's not price. Everyone always thinks it's price. It's not price. Price has nothing to do with it. It's having access to something that looks good, that lasts, that has a story, that makes sense. These come with a 5-year guarantee. They over 5 years, they fit to your hand. It's kind of like Birkenstock shoes, okay? They kind of just start forming to who you are, and they have that lifestyle. What we do also is we offer $20, we buy back these gloves. So when you're done with your glove, we'll give you $20, we'll buy it back, we'll knit it into blankets and sweaters for orphans in the orphanages of Bolivia. So we have an upcycling that's a part of it, and a recycling also that's built into the program.
Yeah, hi. If I missed you talking about this, I apologize. 3 simple questions. Are you giving up your day job and working on this full time? Who is your designer? Who actually designs the designs? And 3, like when you're in New York, San Francisco, and Chicago, wherever those major markets where you're selling these things, where are they sold? Do you have boutiques or specific boutiques that focus on ethical clothing and you have distribution there? And how many, and in those, if you are in those stores, how many does a typical store sell every year of yours? And is the store happy with your sales?
Right. So those are good questions. So this is a relaunch. You know, 9 months ago, this never existed. So because we haven't been branding ourselves since 2007. But if we go forward here, this is a little bit of our initial plan. So that's a great story. What do you do with your day job, right? Because I'm a professor, so I need time to be able to be with my students, which is also why I launched a company like this, because it's something that's accessible. I can deal with marketing a glove, okay? And then what this will do is it'll build us enough space that we have staff that can come in and also help as the business grows. So right now I have my design team is in New York City because it's very important. Design is an important part of the success of this product. It has to be designed in a cosmopolitan way. So I have Carolyn Priebus, our designer. She's had things in Barney's, Saks. That would be our next place that we would move into for product, would be Barney's, Bloomingdale's, Saks. But also staying in the small boutiques and online is huge. Online luxury sales, that's something that's trending and it's going to continue to trend. So that's really the main place that we're looking at pitching the company. We're looking at having 30% wholesale. That's pretty consistent. When I first started the company, we were about 40% wholesale and most of it was retail. And that's really when you see the products and you know what they are, it really makes a big difference. So our strategy is going to be a lot with the online, but then also the wholesale will be there to kind of round it out and give some grounding to the brand as well.
So unfortunately, we're out of time. So I think if you can give the riders about 10 minutes, and then we will figure this out and we'll make the announcement on the rider's choice. Thank you very much. Thank you.
It's like right under there.
I know what you mean, like, there's fake air going on.
Just figured out how to turn the ringer on.
Find out who the winner is. I don't know. Yeah. Well, they said like 10 minutes.